welcome to episode 28 of the Owl About Yarn podcast. A little bit later than planned, but better late than never, hey. This week I will be talking to you about things that I've been working on, things that I finished, yay! Some plans for upcoming events, and some cowls which I found which I thought might interest you. So stick around and let's have a chat. First, let me say Happy New Year to all of you who I haven't managed to wish a Happy New Year to already. It is already Monday the 9th of January. I did plan to record last Monday the 2nd, but I came down with a really nasty cold over New Year. Some of you might have seen the videos that I put up on Instagram stories, so you know that I'm telling the truth. You really wouldn't have wanted to look at my face full of gunk and mucus and bad things. Anyway, I'm all better now and I'm here to chat to you. So, what have you been up to? Did you have a lovely Christmas season? Are you ready for the new year? Because sometimes it feels like you need to kind of get ready and get into that place where you can make new starts and new plans. I've seen a lot of people rather than making set resolutions, are choosing words for the year. And I've chosen a word, and my word will be consistency. So I want to try and improve how consistently I'm online everywhere and how often I upload shop updates, how often I record podcasts, etc, etc, etc. So it's just a work in progress. However, last year we had 12 episodes of the Owl About Yarn podcast, which is fairly pathetic, especially seeing as I'm aiming at being a fortnightly podcast. So let's see how we'll go this year. We're aiming at sort of 24, 25, I think, to hit one every fortnight. So we'll have to review this time next year and see how that goal's gone. Anyway, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jenny, and you can find me everywhere online as Owl About Yarn. I'm a knitter, dyer, spinner, sewist, and I sell all sorts of handmade lovely things such as hand-dyed yarn and fibre and handmade project bags in my Etsy shop. The links to everything can be found in the show notes, and you can find links to everywhere that I'm online at owlaboutyarn.com. So let's jump straight in. I thought I'd do a bit of a review of 2016 first, because while it was a fairly rubbish year, there were good points. And as Jolie from Jolie Creates suggested, I'm trying to just record all of the positive aspects of 2016 and ignore the more negative things. So I exhibited at my first yarn show, and then a few more after that, and had a wonderful time at all of them. Yes, it was stressful, especially given the short notice with which I went to Wonderland, but I wouldn't have missed it. And I've been accepted to go to Wonderland again this year, so I've got months and months to prepare. It feels like a whole different creature, and I am already planning out how the stall's going to look in my head and trying to see how I can make it better than last year for as many of you as come. As well as Wonderwool, I went to a brand new festival called Yarningham in July, and then I was at the West Wales Wool Show in, was that September or October? I think that was October. And then the Geeky Puff in Knitpalooza in November, which was my first ever yarn retreat, as well as being one of the first times that I've vended at a show of any sort. So many positive experiences, and I met so many amazing people. Just yarny people are so generously spirited, I think. On the whole, as a community, the fibre community is just a really nice place to be. And on the whole, I think that we're all pretty positive and welcoming and, as I say, generous, really. That's the best word for it. We're generous with our praise, we're generous with supporting small businesses like mine. I'm blown away with how well you've received my things over the past year and how well you've supported me and helped my business grow, which has also helped my confidence in my business to grow. So it's all good things. So really I'm going into 2017 thinking onwards and upwards and excited to see what this year brings. I've got a few ideas for new products. If you get the newsletter, you will have had a couple of sneaky hints of the sort of things that I'm thinking of doing this year. I am planning on writing up some of the patterns which are fizzing about in my brain. That just requires me to sit down and actually do it rather than prevaricating and doing something else, which I'm not very good at. But consistency, it all comes into that key word of consistency, so hopefully it'll all fit in and it'll all get in there. While I mentioned the newsletter, I did just slip it in there a little while back. Have you signed up for the newsletter yet? If you haven't, there'll be a link underneath the video if you're watching on YouTube, or a link in the show notes on my website and in the Ravelry group. If you sign up, you will get exclusive discount codes. For instance, if you had already signed up, then the newsletter I sent out at the end of last week gave you a free shipping code to use for the weekend in my shop. Unfortunately, you'll have missed that now, but if you sign up for newsletters now, then you will be receiving all future codes that I come up with. And I do like to give a bit of a discount code, so they're not going to be that long apart. I wouldn't have thought that there's not going to be a long wait. Anyway, shall we move into what I've been working on? I have started a new cardigan and I'm quite excited. It's some yarn, oh here we are, it's some yarn which has been in deep stash. I think I dyed it about 6 or 7 years ago. It was the first time, it wasn't long after I started dyeing and I decided that I wanted to design a long, like a knee length dress coat with a flared skirt, and I had it all planned out in my head, but I never got the time. So this yarn has languished in my stash since then, and then I was thinking a couple of months back about going up to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival in March and how it would be really nice if I could knit a new garment to wear up there. And I thought, oh, I've got all of that merino, Aran weight merino that I dyed, so why don't I use that and knit something lovely? And that's what I'm going to do. So I found this pattern. It's Milk Stout by Thea Coleman. Now, I can just show you a detail of it here. So as you can see, it's heavily cabled on the front, and the back is similar, and then it's a rib on the sleeves. I got a picture on my phone so that I could show you a bit better. This is the designer's picture that I found. Isn't that just going to be so cosy? I'm really looking forward to having that. And I haven't knitted something with cables all over with a big impact. I knitted this, and you can't really see the cables because the yarn's quite busy. This is the Sweetheart jumper, and I knitted this a couple of years ago, but then the cable is only down the middle, and then the rest of the garment is more or less entirely stocking stitch. So this is a little bit more of a challenge. And I have 9 weeks. Or is it 8 weeks now? I think it might even be 8, because bearing in mind I've got to allow for drying time at the end and such like. And so far, I have a cuff. Hey! So I've cast on. I swatched. I washed the swatch for the first time ever because I really, really wanted this to work. Now I swatch, but I don't generally block the swatch because I'm a very naughty knitter. But this time I decided, because it was so important to me that it worked, and it was such important yarn that's been waiting for the perfect project, I needed to do it all properly. So I knitted the swatch and I blocked it, and because when I knitted it, it was coming out too long but too narrow, and then I blocked it, and of course, you know, wet blocking it is magical, and it came out to be square, which is lovely, but an inch too big. So instead of 4 inches square, it was 5 inches square. And I'd already gone down a needle size, so the pattern asks for a 4.5mm needle. I used a 4mm needle, and I still had to go down. So I had to go down a whole other, well, 2 sizes really, to 3.5mm. And it was very, 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 very slightly too big, just about that much too big all the way around. But I do have a habit of seeing myself as thinner than I am, so I don't mind if the cardigan's a little bit bigger than I think it's going to be. Yeah, and so I'm using Knit Pro Zing's 3.5mm, first outing for these needles. I've got one of my little Ann Tudor Geeky Puffin stitch markers, just marking where I'm increasing on the sleeve. And it's going, it's moving along. It's rib. I hate rib. I really, really hate knitting rib. The only thing worse than knitting rib is moss stitch. No, no. But I know that I'm going to love it when it's done, and it's going to be worth the effort, and it's going to be something that I really... I look at garments that other people have made, and they've really obviously put in a lot of effort, and they haven't just sat in the front of the TV and knitted stocking stitch. And while there's a place for that, and there are some really nice garments with that, I wanted something that was a little bit eye-catching, that you could tell that effort had gone into this time for this yarn. And so that's what I chose. And I have 12 skeins, and I think I don't need more than 8 or 9. So I have plenty of yarn, I'm not going to run out. Hopefully in 2 weeks' time, by the time I talk to you next, I'll be an awful lot further on. I'm hoping to have a whole sleeve to show you, and hopefully most of the next one as well. But at the moment it is more or less TV knitting, because with a rib and increasing every few rows, it's not too taxing. But when I get onto the cables, I think that might be a slightly different prospect. So at the moment this is living in my bag that Sam of Knit Run Dig put into the goodie bags at the Geeky Puffin Knitpalooza, and it is comfortably holding my 2 wound up cakes of yarn and the cuff of my sleeve. But as I say, I don't know how much longer that's all going to fit in there. Hopefully not very long. Hopefully I'll have knitted on far enough that it'll overfill and I'll have to find a bigger bag. So that's the first thing I'm working on. My other work in progress is a pair of monkey socks. Monkey, the pattern by Cookie A. I'm using 2mm higher sharps, which are my favourite sock needles at the moment. Although I do like the Knit Pro Zings. I have the 2mm Knit Pro Zings as well. I have quite a loose tension, so that's why I have to use toothpicks. Where everybody else, normal, would use 2.25 or 2.5mm needles, I'm stuck with the 2mm ones. So I'm still on my first sock. and if I put it on, you'll be able to see the pattern. I mean, everybody knows this pattern. I think I'm the last knitter in the world to knit it, but you can just see how it's showing up the variegated yarn there. I've knitted the leg, the heel, and I'm most of the way down the foot because I have quite little feet. And I'm trying to decide whether this is going to be too lacy to give to my husband. I think it is. The yarn is, I think it's like, oh. Maria, did you give me this yarn? Because I think you did, and I've put the label somewhere, very, very safe, and I don't remember what I've done with it. Yeah. Anyway, it's a German yarn, a German commercial yarn, and this is how it is in the ball. And as I say, I've put the ball band somewhere and I can't find it. But yeah, so I'm that far down. Usually my foot is as long as my leg, so I haven't got that much to go before I start doing toe decreases, and then I'll be on the second sock. So, motoring through that. I'm not motoring through it at all. These were my Christmas Eve cast on because I wanted to join in with all of that. So I cast these on Christmas Eve, and I'm still only on the first foot. That is ridiculous. And the thing is that the pattern is lovely, and it's quite compelling, so you can memorise the pattern, and then you just want to keep doing, oh, one more repeat, one more repeat. So I don't quite understand why it's taking so long. I think somebody's coming and undoing it at night when I go to bed, and that's why it's taking so long. I have my suspicions. Anyway, the next thing I wanted to show you is sort of half finished object, half work in progress, because I've started another blanket, and it's another mitered square blanket, and you're going to think I'm mad. But the difference with this is that I'm using Aran weight yarn. So a very good friend of mine, my best friend from school, had to have an operation before Christmas, and I went to stay with her, and she'd said that she wanted me to make her a hat. And so I put all the colours of yarn I thought she'd like into my bag. I mean, I literally took a suitcase for 2 nights. I took a massive suitcase full of wool. And it turns out that she wanted a colourwork hat, and she had exactly the pattern in mind, and hopefully I'll be able to show you that next time, even if it's only a picture, if I've actually finished it and posted it to her. But the yarn that was needed, it called for an Aran weight yarn. And I thought, well, for the price of some Aran weights, I might as well get the Hayfield bonus Aran, which comes in 400 gram balls. This is the ball band, if you're not familiar with it. They are massive balls of wool, and they're over there. I'm not going to go get them because they're all packed away. It's a very affordable yarn, but it wears well. It's great for kids' clothes. I've made a few jumpers for my kids out of this yarn. It's 20% wool, I think, and then the rest is acrylic, so it's machine washable. You get 920 yards per ball. So I thought, well, what if I make her this hat out of the colours that she wants, and we found the colours, and then I can make her a blanket out of the rest of it. So I've started the blanket. Crazy. Do lally tap. This is definitely a long-term project. I'm thinking kind of next Christmas maybe. It might be big enough to put an edging on and give to her. But it'll be a lovely cosy project for the next 2 months sat on the sofa. So I had done 2 squares, but I had to take one out because it was really bothering me because it was too big. I bought 4 colours in this Hayfield bonus Aran, this one, and then I bought 2 in Tweedy Aran, and I thought that they were going to be the same gauge, you know, the same knit to the same tension, and they don't. The tweedy one is thicker than this one, so I can't put squares in without major adjustment, and I wasn't braining well enough, so I undid it, and I'm just going to do without that because the tweedy ones are kind of the dark ones anyway, so I'm going to go with these autumnal colours that I've got. So I have this mustardy yellow, I have a terracotta orange, and I have a burgundy red, and I upstairs have a really gorgeous plummy purple, quite similar to the colour that I'm knitting my jumper in, but I think that that will go really well with these colours as well. So I think I'll be throwing that into the mix as well. So yeah, another blanket on the needles. I'm mad, I know. I have one finished item to show you. If I just get this to be in the right place so that it looks beautiful. Let's see. I put it on. Ta-da! It's my bauble. I didn't show you this already, did I? Because I can't remember when I finished it. I'm sure I finished it after Christmas. If I've already shown it to you, just pretend I haven't and clap again. Because I love it. And look. My gorgeous fluffy alpaca pom-pom. It's beautiful. I got that from Toft Alpaca. I think last time you could see sheep feet. Is that right? This is what you get for not recording for 3 weeks and having Christmas in between. I don't remember. I'm going to have to go and look at the show notes. I'm really sorry. Yes, so here's my bauble. It is beautiful. It's so cuddly. It's knit out of John Arbon Knit by Numbers, apart from this white, which I did get from John Arbon's mill, but it was something with alpaca in it, which is ironic, knitting sheep out of alpaca, but it's a teeny tiny little bit fuzzy, which is lovely, and it's so tactile. And of course topped off with this gorgeous light alpaca pom-pom, which isn't going to pull down the hat at all. The hat is big, I'm not going to lie. There's plenty of space in case I grow my hair again and have to put my hair up in a bun underneath it, but that's fine. I'd rather too big than too little, and I do like it when it's cold, when hats come all the way down so you can just see my eyes. So this is going to be great. We've forecast a colder snap now at the end of the week, so I'll be able to wear this on the school run and I will be the cosiest mum there. It'll be brilliant. So that is my finished object for the week. And now my hair is all over the place, so if you can excuse that, I would be very grateful. So, what have I told you about so far? I've told you about all of those things, so we'll drop things out of the way. Let me look at my notes, what I wanted to tell you about. I have done no spinning. Remember I had that tiny little bit of fibre left to spin? I have done no spinning, which is bad. I need to put myself down 20 minutes every day and spin. Consistency, see? I'll be losing it. Oh dear. Okay, well, I did mention at the beginning that I'd come across a whole lot of cows that I thought you might be interested in joining me in taking part in. Oh, I've just thrown something on the floor I need. Bear with. Because I have one more finished object and it kind of links to the cows, so I'll tell you all about it all at the same time. So my best mate Zoe from the Pins and Needles podcast, hi Zoe, is doing a knit along at the moment until the end of February on her podcast and in her Ravelry group. And you all, I'm sure, already know all about it. It's called the Newfangled knit along. And basically the concept is that you do something that you haven't done before, whether that's a new stitch in your knitting, or you might want to try crochet if you've never crocheted before. You might want to try spinning or something to do with sewing. I know Zoe's making some pyjamas with a collar and she's not done a collar before, so that's her first new thing with sewing that she's going to be trying. Well, she gifted to me and to Ellie, hi Ellie, a brioche pattern, because none of the three of us had ever tried brioche before, and so we all dutifully cast on the first of January and puzzled over the instructions, and I have finished my very first brioche project, and it is the Deco Mug Mat, I think it's called, and that is my first brioche. Now, the pattern called for it to be knit in double knit with bigger needles, but we thought that would probably be massive, and so we all decided to go with fingering weight yarn, and I believe I used 3mm needles. So that's that side, and that is the reverse. I'm not quite sure which side I prefer. Obviously the contrast is more obvious and the pattern is more obvious there, but then I quite like the subtlety of that. I don't know. It's not going to be used as a mug mat. This took far too much time, and it's too big anyway. I think I might put it in a little frame as art on my office wall. We'll see. But I could just get a little clip frame, couldn't I, and sort of sandwich it in between the board and the glass or the plastic or whatever it is. And it's just a colourful little thing, isn't it, really, to go up on the wall. But anyway, I can now officially say that I can brioche, which is fabulous. So thank you very much, Zoe, for pushing me to do that. Now, talking about brioche, there are 2 other brioche cows ongoing currently, if I get my notes. Now, Louise Tilbrook, the knitting designer, in her Ravelry group and in her Facebook group, has a brioche challenge for January, and I think that is aimed at either having a go for the first time or improving your skills, so go and have a look at that. Caroline at Colourful Creativity has the Colourful Brioche Cal, which is running until the end of March. Now, she's looking for slightly more substantial projects which use at least 50 grams of yarn, so maybe if you were looking to make a hat or even a shawl. I know Zoe has a pattern for a shawl knitted in brioche that she really, really likes, but I'm not sure that she'll be casting it on in time to finish it by the end of March. What do you reckon, Zoe? Do you think you're up for it? And yeah, so isn't that a coincidence that there are those 3 that you can put brioche things into all at once? As to Zoe's knit along with the new skills, I am going to be learning double knitting next month. I'm taking a class with Nathan Taylor, who's also known to lots of you, I'm sure, as the Sockmatician from the Sockmatician podcast. I'm going up to Manchester, and I'm going to a retreat run by Jolie of Jolie Creates, and one of the classes I'll be doing is the double knitting class, so that is totally going to go into Zoe's cowl, because I'll have done that by the end of February, which is when her cowl finishes. I'm also umming and ahhing about having a go at wet felting. Do any of you have any experience in that? Is it something that you think I'll be able to do reasonably easily, or do I need to give over a whole weekend to it, or is it something that I can just give an hour or 2 to? This is kind of the question I want to have answered. 2 other cows to mention. Inside Number 23 podcast, Katie is running a year-long Harry Potter cowl, which is totally up my street because I am such a Potterhead. So she basically wants us to knit or create anything related to Harry Potter. I'm not sure if it's just knitting and crochet or if it's sewing as well. I've got a feeling it might just be woolly things. I'm not sure. I have to check on that. But that's definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of the Hogwarts thing. Like me. Oh, I've got a new t-shirt and I forgot to bring it to show you. I'll have to show you next time. Finally, I wanted to tell you about Cece and Dammy of the Geeky Girls Knit podcast. They have a Winter Wonderland cowl which runs till the end of February, I believe, and that covers basically anything yarny that you can relate to winter, including saying that you knitted it in the winter. So, and she has so many prizes for that cowl. She showed them on the podcast last week, and the list is, yeah, she must have a whole other room to put the prizes in her home, I think. So that's just a few of the cows that I wanted to tell you about. Hopefully you'll find some inspiration there to maybe give something new a go, or enhance some existing skills. Let me know if you're planning on taking part on any. I'm going to try, I think, to take part in all of those. I've already submitted my entry to Louise Tilbrook's cow. I need to knit something bigger in Brioche if I'm going to enter Caroline's cow, so I'll have to give a thought and have a look at patterns to see what sort of thing I fancy making. I have yet to enter my mug mat into Zoe's pins and needles thread, I think, on Ravelry, so I need to go and do that. And as I said, the Winter Wonderland cow can be anything, even if it's just knitted in the winter, so I can fit things into that, I'm sure. So yeah, that's a little bit of community news for you from me. I have now got, instead of endy bits, because I haven't really got endy bits this week, I've now got a vlog for you to finish off the podcast. It's one that I took when we went on a walk on Boxing Day around Cardiff Bay, and it's the first one I've ever tried, so I'm really, really sorry about the jiggly photos when I'm walking around. But I know now that I need to use a different camera, so I've learned something. I know that my microphone does actually work pretty well so long as I tuck it in my coat so that the wind can't get to it at all. So I can talk to you when I'm outside, which is better than it has been previously. And I had a lot of fun putting it together and taking lots of photos, and it was a sort of project while we were down there to take all these pictures and videos. And I'm hoping to do some more things like that through the year, especially because I'm going off on all these jaunts to festivals and retreats and things like this through the year. I'd like to be able to bring you with me on some of them. So I will say now, thank you very much for watching the podcast and for spending this time with me. And I really appreciate it if you are a returning viewer, and thank you very much for checking it out if you are a new viewer. And I hope to see you soon. Bye bye. Thank you so much for watching my podcast. You can find me pretty much anywhere online as owlaboutyarn.com. I'd love it if you would give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future episodes of the podcast. See you soon! I decided to bring you out on a walk with me today. It's a lovely day, blue skies, and we all ate far too much yesterday, so we're trying to walk some of it off today. At the moment you're looking out over the Severn estuary, which is just outside, well, Cardiff borders the Severn estuary, and the two islands that you can see over there are Steephome and Flatholme. And I don't think you'd be able to see it from here, but Steephome has, will it focus? No. Flatholme, sorry, has a lighthouse on it, and you can do boat trips to go over there. And then if I swing round, you can see the English coast on the other side of the estuary. You can see, I'm not sure if that's Clevedon or Weston-super-Mare over there, but anyway, somewhere over there is Alison, so hello! Did you have a nice Christmas? Wonder if you're having a sea walk today and looking over here. And over there is Cardiff Bay, Cardiff Docks. We'll be walking that way back again in a minute. But we walked along the barrage, which made Cardiff Bay into a freshwater lake some years ago. And we just watched one of the locks closing up over there. Rob said that he'd seen a boat going in, but I missed that. But it's very impressive, the size of them. So
So there we go. What have you been doing this Boxing Day? I'm going to carry on my walk. About halfway back along Barrage now. Ben and I decided to walk right along the edge of the Cardiff Bay freshwater lake, while the others took the direct route so they could get to the play park quicker. It really is massive. If I can zoom it around without that is Ben in there as well, obviously, and into the sunshine, so I won't stay looking that way very long over towards Penarth. But the freshwater lake that was made by the barrage is 500 acres. That's a considerable size lake to be created. I think it's about 15 years ago that happened now, that they finished the barrage. Since then they've finished all of these walkways. Captain Scott, I don't know if you know, sailed from Cardiff, and so here you've got a history of the expedition on the wall. Something to stop and read on your way. We're going to go and catch up. And there's Ben being a monkey on the bars as ever. We're going to go and catch up with the others now. Never ever been in the bay before when a big ship has been coming out of port, but Rob just spotted in time for me to run over and capture it. This big row designer. I wonder what it's carrying. So I thought I'd try and film a bit for you. Looks quite little now, just give it a minute. Massive. Cardiff Docks is quite a busy dock, so we do have quite a lot of shipping coming in and out. Obviously not as much as there would have been a few decades ago, but still a reasonable amount. Yep, the biggest bit of the boat still hasn't come. You can just see it coming around the building now. It fascinates me wondering where in the world they're going to end up. Huh. I'm going to have to move back soon or it won't all get in the shot. It's huge. And I know that we can't even get the massive boats in our dock, because it's quite a small one relatively. Huge. Anybody got any clue what sort of things this would carry? had our really blustery walk along the barrage, and now we are heading off to try and find a coffee shop that's open for a nice warm drink, because Erin, being only small and little and skinny, is getting quite cold. It's always a good 5 or 10 degrees colder here, or at least it feels like it, compared to the rest of Cardiff, because of the winds that come off the Bristol Channel. And I think somehow they managed to come via the Arctic. This is the Norwegian church, with my Jackie going in front of it. And that was moved there from, I believe, Butetown, to save the structure when they built the bay. And it's now a coffee shop and arts centre, but it was the Norwegian church where apparently Roald Dahl was christened. And as we come around the corner of that, you can see the big red pierhead building, and next to the pierhead building, the shiny brown building, is the Millennium Centre, with the words on the front. If you have seen any of the episodes of Doctor Who and Torchwood, which is set in Cardiff Bay, you'll be familiar with the front of that. And then over there, that's Mermaid Quay. That's where all the shops and the cafes are, so that's where we're heading. Here's our Welsh Assembly building. It's not quite so powerful as the Houses of Parliament, for those of you who are outside the UK and wouldn't know. And I'm really sorry for making you seasick with all this joggling. There's somebody playing the clarinet at the bottom of the steps. It's supposed to be quite the architectural something, this building. Made with all Welsh slate. There's the beautiful pierhead building again, with the sun, the last of the sun setting in front of it. Oh, and we're being called by Erin, who's wanting to show us her jumping, I think. She's Supergirl today.
Everybody stop!
Erin, come on.
Yay! And now for a cup of tea. Sunset's fast this time of year. This is one of the kids' favourite places to play when we come down the bay. Up on the old cannons. You can climb all over them, they're rock steady. So they love it. The sun completely set while we were having a cup of coffee. Well, I was having a hot chocolate. It's still pretty round here though. There's Roald Dahl Plus and the Millennium Centre. And the clarinet player is still going strong over there. I'm going to go put some money in his hat in a minute. I think he deserves it for staying out here in all freezing cold weather.